All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome for those of you who are going to be here live. Also, welcome to those of you watching the recording, even though you should have been on live, right? This is webinar number 2 that we've done recently. And, we can talk about a million things. We can talk about dancing and pointing on TikTok, social media, paying for leads, right? But at the end of the day, if you do not have the ability to sit with somebody on Zoom, over the phone, or in person, and ask them confidently and calmly and actually get them to sign on the dotted line, not only are you not going to be successful in real estate, you're not going to be successful in anything entrepreneurial, because the sales aspect of it, in particular the closing, not the sales. The sales is just the marketing, getting people in. I'm talking about the closing aspect. And again, I'm not saying we shove it down their throat. No, you need to sign, and Alden, sign right now. No, you can be smooth. You can be GQ smooth at getting people to sign. But if that step is missed, all your other efforts prior to that moment, wasted. You don't make any money, you don't generate any revenue, and your business doesn't grow, flat out. If there's one thing you guys need to focus on more than anything else going into a slowing market, it's this. Because this ability will get you to get in front of more people, get more appointments, and ultimately get more contracts signed. You get more contracts signed, you make more money, life gets a lot better, your confidence raises as an agent, you can start bringing people on, your operation grows, life becomes good. You can't do that at a high level. And again, just like I said in the promotion of this, if you're not getting at least 7 or 8 out of 10 contracts signed that you present to people, you need a lot of work. Now, if you get to 7 or 8, I can help get you to 9 and as close to 10 as possible. At my peak, I was right around 9. I think when I averaged it out, I was like at 8.9 out of 10 when I was still going on appointments. So just under 9 out of 10. That's up there, dude. Now, there's a lot of pieces that I'm going to cover today for you guys specifically. I'm going to ping pong a little bit with Kevin and Alden. If you guys don't know them, they work with me at Team BC, and they're a part of my organization. And they're very well versed in sales too. I know Alden himself used to be an ISA as well. He's still an active agent, and he's taking listings, setting a lot of appointments. So these people up here have sales experience and are coming to you from a position of, okay, I can move and deliver these words and get contracts signed at a level much higher than the average person. Okay. So step 1, I'm going to speak a little bit, and then I'm going to pass it to the other 2 panelists here, and we'll discuss it a little bit. Number 1, what happens before the moment that you're sitting in front of them, whether it's a buyer or a seller, is paramount in preparation to get them to sign a lot easier. What do I mean by that? The big bad wolf in the room that everybody's scared of, qualification. Somebody calls you, hey, what's up, Bryan? I'm ready to sell my house. You don't drop everything and go over, oh, I'll be right over. No, you grill them and you qualify them. Pilots and stewardess qualify you before the flight. Lawyers and doctors qualify you when you set up the appointment, when you show up, and then when you sit down with them. They qualify you 3 times before they actually say, okay, how can I help you? What are you feeling, right? The doctor, what's going on? You're qualified multiple times. Why do we not do this as agents? You need to vet these people that you're going to meet with. Are they a bona fide, motivated, and qualified buyer or seller? Many of you are wasting your time because you're sitting in front of buyers or sellers who are not buyers or sellers. It doesn't, like I've heard agents say, oh, well, if I could just get in front of them, I can convince them. No, dude, if they don't have a genuine desire to buy or sell, you're not going to do anything. And in fact, that's unethical. Now you're trying to force somebody to buy or sell when they shouldn't, because you're so good at sales. Give me a break, right? Why do we not do this? It's the same agent that says, well, damn, these are 15 qualifying questions. Why do I have to ask all these questions? You know why you don't want to ask them? Because you're afraid. You're afraid that they're not going to check out, and now you have to get back on the phones and get more leads and appointments, which is exactly what you're supposed to be doing every day anyway. Okay? Qualify and ask more questions. Now, before I even go deeper into it, I want to pass it to you guys. I'll pass it to you, Alden, first. How paramount is this in preparing somebody when you go to the appointment to having a much higher success rate and getting a contract signed and having a good client?
And it's funny because I'm so glad you mentioned qualification, because I wrote down some notes prior to, and qualification, even more recently, has been one of the biggest things that I would almost say it's almost everything when it comes to going on an appointment and closing it. because even when it comes to appointments or closing at the sale, it's the emotional impact that you leave on somebody that's going to be much more likely to, and almost get rid of a lot of the resistance when you do ask for the close. Where are they going? Why do they want to go there? And those two questions, when do they want to be there? If you can get these three questions, but not only at a surface level, because this was a mistake that I made early on when I was, qualifying and asking questions, besides being afraid to ask certain questions, is I would get that surface level motivation. Oh, we want to move to Tennessee. Okay, cool. When do you want to be in Tennessee? We want to be there by January 1st. Okay, great. What's taking you to Tennessee? We want to be there with their grandkids. Well, that's cool and all, and you can definitely use that. But when you start taking it, an extra level deeper, what makes you want to be closer to, or what makes you want to be in Tennessee with your grandkids? Well, we're getting a little bit older, time's running out, and we really just want to spend as much time possible with our grandkids. Well, shit, that's a very strong motivation to get somebody to go to Tennessee. So once you have that information, when you're sitting in front of the person and they're maybe on the fence of whether they want to close or not, or they're still contemplating their decision, and you dangle that in front of them. Well, you mentioned to me earlier multiple times that you are running out of time and you wanted to be in Tennessee with your grandkids so you could spend as much time with them as possible. I mean, how can they object to getting exactly what they want? And you're the solution to be able to offer it to them. So qualification, getting their motivation and stuff, it's just 100 times more important than I initially thought when I was, earlier on in the business making those calls. So
love it, man. Anything you want to add, Kevin?
Yeah, I agree with Alden. I would say what it does is give you in your communication, it gives you the ability to have that ammunition, right? So you're getting this information from them, so that way maybe down the road when they know for a fact that you're the best fit for them, then you can say, well, remember earlier when you told me this? And it's almost like you're like almost like a spy, right? You're getting this information to use, so that way when they do, I don't want to say weasel their way out, but when they try to kind of talk themselves out of it, you can come back and say, well, how great would this be to be where you wanted? This is exactly what you wanted, right? So I think it's really good to use that as an ability to almost be like a detective or a spy, and you have that in your tool belt.
Cool.
And one more point on that, actually, and I feel like this is a key point in terms of at least being able to convince yourself that it is the right thing to ask. Because I know a lot of people, when they're at the appointment and they're afraid to push a little bit more, afraid to use the motivation really to entice the person to make a decision. Like, I've had people thank me afterwards for helping them make that decision.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what they wanted, but they were getting in their own way and talking themselves out of it. And if you don't let them, only if they're telling you that's what they want. Like, if that's not what they want, then you don't want to, there's no reason to try to push them into what they want. But if that's what they're telling you what they want, then people struggle so bad to make decisions. You have to help them, and that's one of your jobs as a salesperson, to be able to help them make decisions.
Absolutely. So one thing I want to add real quick to everybody who's on or watching the recording, two things. Number one, I would assume most of you are on the email list. If you're not, one free bonus that we're giving people is the cold calling challenge, which is a challenge that I did a while back. That's 5 hours of training that you get as a free bonus. So if you haven't gotten it and you're on the email list, reach out to us after via the website and we'll make sure that you get it. Number one. Number two, if you've already decided that, I need to take my business to the next level, my skills to the next level, you do have the option of jumping on a strategy call and seeing additional training and support that we can offer you, right? They'll be adding the link here. You're welcome to schedule that now or in the follow-up email, okay? So qualification, you guys have heard, is extremely important, right? And a key distinction that Alden made there, which we're gonna bring up, is people will talk themselves out of it. This is why this skill is so essential. Think about how difficult it is for most people to make a decision. Like, it's the joke I always say, people can't even decide what they're gonna fucking eat. Yet now you want them on the spot to decide to sign with you when they're going to sell their $600, $500, $200 million home. When that same person's like, okay, waiter, come back again. And they've already come back 3 times, right? I'm like, dude, Like I order for them. I literally tell people, if you don't order in like 3 minutes, I'm going to order for you, because it's disgusting to me how indecisive people are. And this pollutes you in other areas of your life. How many of you on this call have talked yourself out of doing something you knew in your heart of hearts you should have done? And then you're upset later and you can't sleep at night and you're losing sleep and you don't feel good. Had I been there to kind of give you that nudge, and then you would have made it, even though you would have been uncomfortable in the moment, you would have thanked me after, just like Alden said. That's exactly what he's referring to. So our role is actually vital for the fulfillment of you and your customer. And I want to make that clear, because a lot of people internally have blocks in regards to asking somebody to sign because they feel bad. But when you know it at this level, what we just described, and you really understand it and see it for what it is, it removes that, because that's an inner game thing. If you're going against your own inner code and values, your outward actions will not do it, because you're going against your own values. You're like, oh man, I really wholeheartedly think I'm pushing somebody to do something they shouldn't, when you're not. But if that's what you think and that's what you believe, you're not going to say the words, or you're going to deliver it a little soft or not the right way, and it's not going to have the right oomph that it needs. Okay, so moving along. Here's another one I want to bring up to you guys. Again, whether this is and this is a good teaching point, because I think it starts everything, whether it's a buyer or a seller, is the tone that you set from the very moment you knock on the door, right? You show up, or the buyer comes to your office, or you meet them at Starbucks, or whatever it is that you do. And by the way, I wouldn't recommend you guys meet them at Starbucks or a place like that. Have an office, get your brokerage to offer you an office, do something to meet them in a neutral place, right? Again, if it's a listing appointment, try to get them in your office. That's a boss move. I've done that, where a client will come to my office for a listing appointment. Boss move. Ask them. You'll be surprised how many people say yes. But, a listing appointment, sometimes you go to their house. That's fine. How do you set the tone? How is your knock? How do you walk up to the house? What are the first words out of your mouth? This is a key one. Do you take control in the beginning, or do you follow around the sellers like a little puppy? Are you moving? Are you being the expert, or are you letting somebody hold you by the hand and take you around? Because especially if you know this from experience, if you allow the homeowner to show you the house, you just wasted an hour. And now in their minds, oh, I'm going to sell them on why this thing is worth $50,000 more than market value because it's my house and it's special. Or do you have them sit at the kitchen table and wait for you? You take a quick peek and you instruct them. After we take care of the paperwork and agree on everything, we'll do a more detailed tour so we can be absolutely certain that we give every single benefit and feature that your home has to offer. Fair? Okay. That's not, oh, please. No, it's this is what we're going to do. Yes, this is your house and I respect it, but I'm the expert here. I'm the professional. Now I'm going to go over some more moves in a second, but I want to ask you guys, how important is that, especially you, Alden, and I can ask you first, Kevin, actually, setting that tone, whether it's a Zoom call, a phone call, or when you're there for the meeting.
Yeah, I think we've probably all heard the adage of your energy is your introduction. So to BC's point, when you're coming in, I always do like a little mental check beforehand, and I always like to make sure my state of mind is right before I knock on the door or anything like that. Because to your point as well, the homeowner, if they went and spent all the time and dedicated their blood, sweat, and tears to going through a real estate school and licensing and everything else, then they would have listed their own house. So to your point, again, I like to come in knowing that I'm the expert because I spent the time going through the education. I paid my dues and course fees. I've studied sales and the market, so I know that I'm the expert. And coming in with that attitude, I know for a fact that that's helped me in my adventures in real estate for sure.
Alden?
Yeah. So same thing, just the way I look at all these are kind of like embedded commands, where it's not the one big thing that's going to do everything, but it's not one, you're not going to say an embedded command one time, buy this house, and they're automatically going to buy the house, but it's all these little details that add up that separate you and make you a clear difference between the other agents. But in regards to setting the tone, the way I view it is kind of like when you are showing a buyer, or you're putting a house on the market as a listing agent, and whether it's dirty and it has nicks in the house and there's little things that buyer walks in and sees automatically, Well, now their mind is automatically programmed to start looking for negative things in the house. What's wrong with this house? Oh, there's a little nick in the corner. Well, where is there nicks everywhere else in the house? And so you're almost priming their mind. Same thing when you walk into the door at a listing appointment. If you walk in, maybe, dress sloppily, you walk in maybe, 2 or 3 minutes late. Well, their mind's already starting to think of you in a negative direction. So how much harder do you think it's going to be to close the deal when they're already thinking about you in a negative light? Then it's going to be when you walk in, you're excited, hey, how's it going? I look forward to meeting with you today, blah, blah, blah. How much better do you think it's going to be when your energy is positive and they have a positive representation of you versus a negative? Again, it's one of those things that are going to get you much further along when you're on the phone, when you're, mirror and matching their tonality, their rate of speech, the words that they're using. How much more likely are they to give you an extra 10 or 15 seconds, which could give you another 10 or 15 seconds and another 10 or 15 seconds to where you're able to set that appointment, or at the appointment, have enough time to be able to, again, close the deal. Or even when they're interviewing multiple agents, same thing. You walk in, they automatically have a negative perception of you. I mean, you've pretty much lost the appointment, especially if you're competing, because that other guy, he might have been doing all the right things when you walked in the door. So, last point I'll make on this is there's so many little details to that dress, your body language, are you open, are you closed? How much energy do you have when you walk into the house? How excited are you to help that person? Just a million little details that make a world of difference. But if you study these different arts, body language, NLP, you just separate yourself. You make yourself a clear difference between the other agents.
Yeah, man. And to add to the point about being late, like if you guys aren't 5 minutes early, their mind is already racing. Oh, is he going to show up? Right. So I'm knocking on the door 3, 4, 5 minutes before 8 o'clock. If it's at 8 o'clock, I'm not waiting until 8 or 8:02, because now their mind is already racing. Like you guys have to really, the devil's in the details. You have to really take a close look at these things. Right. Same thing with everybody will try to argue, well, do I really have to wear a suit? I tell people, why is there so much resistance toward a suit? And it's been proven, and this just from observation. If you walk around on the streets in a suit versus in sweats, people are going to take you a lot more seriously in the suit. You could probably just straight up lie about what you are and what you do, and people will be more likely to believe you. Why? Because it's embedded in our culture that if you wear a suit, you must be doing something. So knowing that, why would we not wear it? My first 3 or 4 years in the business, you would, if you barged into my house and I was showering, I'd be in a suit. Like I was in a suit 24/7, because even though at the time I wasn't a suit guy, I knew people see me in a suit, they think I'm sharp. I would get compliments on my suit all the time. If I have an advantage, a card that I can play as an advantage, why would I not do it? Right? It's the same thing. You guys have to look at this with the effect that it has to walk in and take control. If you take control, people will follow. Naturally, in every interaction, there's a leader and there's a follower. Many people are going into a listing appointment being the follower, right? Here's a big one I want to add before we move on. What do you guys do when you're presenting and a homeowner throws in a random question? Do you stop everything and answer it? Or if it's a question that you answer there, say, we're going to get to that here in a minute, and then go right back to your presentation. Because the second one that I gave you is the one that you need to do. You don't stop, drop, and just get into the line of questioning. Now you just forfeited control. They're going to lead you down a path that is to no man's land, and you're not going to get the listing. Right? Because I've had impatient sellers. I've had sellers who sit there with their arms crossed that I'll stop and say, hey, Jim, I just want to make sure we're on the same page here, and I want to make sure that no detail is missed. So as I'm going over the pricing, I'm going to ask your participation to make sure we're on the same page. Cool? And what am I going to do? I'm then going to go through, and just like you guys see in the script, I'm going to make him read it. How many bedrooms is in this house? Because even if he gives me resistance, I would say, remember what I said earlier? This is paramount in importance, Jim. If any wires get crossed here, it means you potentially not selling and moving to North Carolina. Would you be okay with that? Okay, cool. Then let's make sure we huddle up for the next couple minutes and make sure we do this thing right. You guys have to take control. Because I know deep down inside, when someone's not paying attention, you notice it and it's eating you alive, but you don't say anything. Right? Would you guys agree with that?
Oh, 1,000%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Cool. So we have the qualification side, right? We have also the side of, all right, what are we doing? Are we taking control? Are we leading, not following? All right, number 3, and as basic as this sounds, we still get a lot of resistance with this. You need to have a presentation that you follow. You don't go in there winging it. You know how many agents that I know that are successful that are winging it? 0. Everybody who I know who's taking a lot of leads, listings, setting a lot of appointments, and making a lot of money, maybe different styles, but they all have a set presentation that they follow. 100%. Now, will we say, oh man, that's not me. That's not, I'm not scripted and all that. Well, when I deliver a presentation to you guys, does this sound scripted? Right?
No.
You have to earn the position of it flowing and being natural. When you guys watch a movie, does it seem like the actors are following a script? No, but you know they're following a script and you're still like, oh my God, that movie was incredible. That wasn't just somebody randomly filming. Those were actors following a script, but they mastered it and they nailed it to the point where you forget that it's a script. You never had even a hunch that it was a script, and you're totally immersed into the experience, right? So before we get into details of the presentation, I wanted to ask you guys, do you follow it on the appointments of presentation? And do you ever get called out like, oh my God, Alden, you're using a script?
Not a single time. Yeah, not a single time. And the script, I mean, the same thing as what you said. It's like, why would you not want to have a repeatable process that you can go in and replicate the same result over and over again? I never really understood the resistance to the scripts or, the questions. Cause I remember the first time I picked up the phone, I had no fucking clue what to say. More or less asking for an appointment. I didn't even know what questions to ask. So how am I going to I guess you could say from Jordan Belfort's training perspective, like go from the beginning to the straight line to the end, you don't even know what you're saying. So the script to me has been something I always like made it a point to make sure that I did understand and master. Now I took from the beginning, it took me a little bit longer to master it because I was a little bit like scattered on actually memorizing it. But I can tell you that the biggest thing is when I did memorize it, my results, just skyrocketed. Like my closings, my conversations got better. I was getting into more conversations, and anything when it comes to getting better results in sales, just increased tenfold.
You want to add anything, Kevin?
Yeah, I would say, competence breeds confidence. So if you're getting any kind of resistance that you sound scripted or anything like that, it's because you do. But the more that you do it, to your point, with the repetition, everything, it becomes more smooth and more fluid. And once you have that locked in, you'll even notice you almost have like a little swag in your walk and your talk, and that's something that I think is nice because, like you said, people pick up on that. And it's nice when you come into those situations and you can knock on the door and you just know that you're going to rule that appointment. And that, I think, separates you from other agents as well, because when you go to these, even like the mixers and stuff, you can tell when you become a competent agent when you're talking to an agent that doesn't really know what they're doing. And there's a lot of that in this business.
Oh, absolutely. Right. And to add on to it, what you guys need to understand is the script is there by design. It has an introduction, step 1, all the way to the last step, which is them signing or agreeing to meet with you, right? It has the beginning, the middle, and the end, which is a destination. If you guys don't use that, how are you going to successfully and predictably get to an appointment every time if you don't have a structure, right? Just like, I played basketball at every level, elementary school, high school, college, professionally. We always had plays and we had a coach and they would give us direction, right? Like that literally that model that we're discussing here is everywhere. All right. So we're going over this so you embrace it, because if you have resistance towards scripts, you're going to have limited results because you're already looking at it, not believing in it, and you're not going to give yourself 100% to it. Okay. Now let's get into some of the juicy stuff, right? Which is more the actual particular lines and things that we use. What I want to say is this. Number one mistake that I can say a lot of agents make, or salespeople in general, is they never use test closes. What I mean by test close is asking for an appointment, or in this case, asking for the signature, or asking for them to authorize the paperwork, or whatever it is, before the script says that you're supposed to, right? I'm sure all of you have been in a situation Whether, again, setting the appointment or you're getting it signed and you're like, man, these people, they're sold already. Why would you go through the whole script and then ask them when you can stop there and say, you know what, it seems to me like you guys are ready to go. Oh yeah, Brian, great. Let's just take care of the paperwork now. You know how many deals I've gotten signed that way? If you guys go on the presentation, what are the top 3 questions? Have you definitely decided to sell? And are you ready to go? Number 2, the price and terms, are you good with them? And number 3, am I the agent that you would like to use? If they say yes to all of that when you're pre-qualifying in the beginning of the presentation, and they say yes, 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 why wouldn't you ask there for them to sign? Assuming you did the pre-listing package and all that stuff, and you prep them for it, right? Which is a part of the qualification phase. Now, let's say they say, oh, well, we wanted to discuss the price a little bit more. I go right back to the presentation. It's not like I'm like, oh, they said no. Okay, I got to leave. You go right back to the presentation. That's the beauty of a test close, is you're testing. If they say no, or they give you some sort of resistance, you go right back to your script anyways. So in preparation for our meeting tonight, and you're right back into the script. Now, I wanted to ask you guys real quick before we continue, like Alden, Kevin, do you guys use these test closes? And when you have, what's been your experience with them?
You want to go first, Kevin?
Yeah, absolutely. To your point, it's going to save you a lot of time. I mean, like you said, if you know for a fact and you get that feeling and you can tell the energy that they're there and they like you, why would you want to waste all your time? Let's just get everything signed, put the sign in the yard, and I'll run back to the office and handle everything right away. We'll put it on the market. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
The old adage, time is money, right? So it's make it simple for yourself, make it simple for your clients, and they'll appreciate that because they don't want to have their time wasted either.
Yeah, and to add to that real quick, that's something instinctual, because even though they're not consciously thinking about it, if you don't pick up on it and you go through the whole script and they wanted to sign earlier and you wait until the end, they start losing respect for you and they might not choose you because you didn't pick up on it. But many of you, even the rookies, amongst all your nervousness, you're still going to be able to sense it. But because you're not confident, you're going to, oh, I need to follow the script. That sense is there. Trust it. Go ahead, Alden.
Yeah, and even to I would definitely the test closes for sure. And even to the point of the test closes, like if I'm buying something or I want to buy something and I've already decided I want to buy it, and this person's trying to send me through this whole presentation, and I'm like, dude, I already want to buy it, and he's trying to sit there and sell me, like I'm gonna get fucking annoyed. Like,
yeah,
and so, but even to the point that Brian's making about the test closes, like when you memorize the scripts, it's almost like, if you think of it in terms of levels, once you memorize the script, you free up the resources in your brain to be able to focus on other things. So yes, when you're talking the first time, you may have to just focus purely on the words that you say, but as you get better, well, now maybe once you memorize the script, now maybe you can start noticing body language discomforts. And then maybe after you've figured out the script and then you understand body language, well, now it's all processing subconsciously. So you're able to notice it without even thinking about it. But then maybe you're starting to be able to understand what they're saying, not the words that they're using, but what they're saying behind what they're saying. And you keep progressing and you start noticing more things that maybe the beginner can't notice, but as you progress, you're able to, again, notice more things, which make you so much more effective in your presentations, much more likely to close. You can pick up on whether they're ready to close right now or need more qualification. You can pick up on, just all the little details and things that maybe a lot of people aren't able to pick up on. So just makes you more effective.
I agree, man. So moving on. Another thing that I wanted to discuss that I think is very important is this no resistance mentality, right? Typically when people get an objection, and again, just so you guys know, you're going to get objections. Even the most smooth sales, you're going to get some sort of resistance. It's only in the movies that they're like, yes, yes, yes. Okay, I'll sign. Oh, 6%, Alden? You know what? I'll pay you 7. You're a nice guy. That happens in the movies. That doesn't happen in real life. What I mean by no resistance is anything they say, any objection they make, any complaint that they make, anything that comes out of their mouth, you're never shocked. You're never thrown off by it, and you never get argumentative with them. You stay cool, calm, and collected. Oh, man, I can't believe this. I understand. There's no resistance. Now, internally, you may be upset or nervous. That's fine, but you never break on the outside, right? I've had people just get upset. And again, sometimes it's not even an objection. You just show them the real price and like, oh my God, 500,000. No way, Alden. You got to be kidding me. You just want to give my house away and make a quick commission, don't you? What do you think I do? Well, get into this defensive mode and react to them? No, I understand they're being emotional, but I don't respond that way. I say, I understand where you're coming from, Alden, because in your mind, hey, you want to get the most for your house, right? That's my response to it. It's not like, no, that's what it's worth. It's not about me making a commission, right? Like even my tone doesn't imply that I'm affected. And that's been one of the biggest shifts that has allowed me to make it through those uncomfortable moments and ask again and keep the conversation going, because so many agents offer resistance. Now, tied to that too is, like I mentioned, hearing a complaint and then going into an objection handler when it's not an objection, but we'll save that for the second part, right? How important and pivotal has this no resistance mentality been for you guys? Because it can be tough at times. I know, because some stuff people say, of course, like you might take it personally.
Yeah, the biggest thing in terms of the no resistance to me is the understanding. And it's something that it's kind of hard to explain if you've never experienced it, but as you get a better understanding, you stop being affected by things as much emotionally. So when it comes to the no resistance, the for sale by owners were probably the biggest ones for me, because I didn't really understand how to handle it, or I didn't understand exactly maybe how we could get them more money or where we could really benefit them. Well, especially in this past market, it's like, well, shit, they probably can sell the house themselves, but are they really making the most money at the end of the sale? And I mean, 9 times out of 10, they're not. And when it comes to the repair negotiations, there's a lot of ways you can make them more money. When it comes to even negotiating, the offers, an example I always use is, and I tell them the story, I'm like, look, I was putting an offer on a property for a buyer, and we bid like $12,000 above the asking price, and we didn't win. And this was during the COVID market. And then another house was actually in worse condition, priced less. And once we lost out on my townhouse that we were trying to put an offer on, I went to the for sale by owner. I was like, hey man, my buyer's interested. Have y'all sold it? They're like, yeah, we sold it. And I was like, what'd you sell it for? And they were like, the listing price, which is like, ours was like listed at 212 and we bid like 220 something, and theirs was listed at like 205. So we lost out on a property that was in worse condition and bid way more money, and they were happy with their listing price. So there's like, it's hard to explain things when you truly don't have an understanding of them. And that's the way I would put understandings and not being affected emotionally by things, is like, you don't really know what you don't know. And so understanding human nature, understanding psychology, it seems like it's a lot of work on the surface, but I mean, it's paramount into the success and the growth of you as an individual and the effectiveness when you're selling. And I don't know if all that made sense, kind of a couple of different angles, but.
Yeah, I can encapsulate it. So basically, like, you brought up one important thing. The more you know and the more you educate yourself on as an agent, it's going to be easier to see their side or the situation and then act accordingly, basically.
For sure. And even the understanding, being able to summarize what they're saying and, reframe what they're saying, things like that. The understanding is just key.
Absolutely. 100%. Kevin, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think this just comes back to, like I mentioned, about displaying that level of confidence and knowing that you're the expert. And if people see that you shake and you move like that, that's when they'll start pressing you, and you'll get a lot of weird questions, or they'll start questioning like your integrity of how you are as an agent. So if you act like it's not a big deal, when the time comes for you to push the paperwork in front of them and get them to sign, and it's going to be that much easier to make that not a big deal. You'll push that right back to them like it's no problem, and it'll be easy for them to sign. There'll be no resistance.
Right. Love it. I want to add now that little extra piece that I threw in there about people going into objection handling mode when a customer complains. I'll throw this first one to you, Alden. How would you classify the difference between a complaint and an actual objection?
A complaint, if we've set the price at 500,000 and we both know it's the right price because we just went through all the comps, and somebody says, you show them the net sheet and they're walking away with $200,000. This person's about to fucking walk away at the table with $200,000 in their pocket. And they say, oh my God, 500,000, we were really hoping we could get 600, walk away with 300,000. the classic Kevin Ward example. I understand that, it's less than you were hoping to walk away with. However, is it a number you could live with if you had to? This person's walking away with $200,000 on a house they bought 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I mean, I hate to say the greed of people, but, it really does tap into the greed. So, when I go around and ask for an extra 1% commission, they're walking away with $200,000. I mean, I have no problem sitting there asking for an extra 5 again, because I know I'm going to provide a great service to the client. I know I'm going to negotiate for more than the other agents, and I know I'm going to serve them well. But the complaints, once you start trying to objection handle that, now you're explaining yourself, and you're coming off weaker, you're coming off desperate, and they can just feel it that this guy needs the deal. Where it's like, if you're like, that's 500,000, but we both can agree that is the right price, correct? All right, well, are you ready to get started? Yeah. There's nothing to handle. Yeah. It's just an emotional outburst, but it's the reality.
Yeah. So and you brought up a great point. You're explaining yourself now. That's how it's perceived. And I want everybody to highlight that and then write this down in your notes. Never explain yourself. Because again, unless we're specifically making a point, this is the way I can correlate it, right? I go door knocking with a new agent, and let's say it was like me 10 years ago or someone else that I get who's like 20 years old. And someone just makes a comment, "Oh, you look really young." That's just an offhand comment, which could be kind of paralleled with a complaint at a listing appointment. What happens there? Most new agents are like, well, and then you immediately want to, I work with this team, and you want to like start stacking all these things to prove that you're not this inexperienced agent. But did they say you're inexperienced? No, they just made a comment that you're young. You know how I used to respond? Thank you. I take care of myself. And then I would go into my next question. Because they just made an offhand comment. I gave an offhand response, and then I continued. But see, you reveal your unconscious insecurities and thoughts and state with how you respond to those situations. And it's the same thing in a listing appointment. If they say, "Oh my God, 500, no way." You know what I say? Yeah, I was upset when I saw the market value too. That's what I tell them. But that's not an objection handler. That's just a reality. Why? Because if I could get them 600, I'd be happier. I'm making more commission.
Yeah.
Right. But I say, "Oh man, yeah, I was upset. I was upset when I was doing the research too." It is what it is. That's my response to that. Anyways, are we all good here? You guys ready for the next step? After a minute or two of them ranting and raving, and a lot of them are like, "Yeah, I didn't have to objection handle." But what will we do? Well, you'll jump into your automatic objection handler, and you haven't even gotten an objection. Therefore, you're explaining yourself, and you don't want that. All right, that's crippling for you, because what that does is it affects people subconsciously. And a lot of times what they feel subconsciously, again, that affects them negatively. Now, consciously, they need to justify it. So whenever you give them that bad feeling is when you start getting questions like, "Wait, how many homes have you sold? How long have you been in the business?" When you start getting asked questions like that, you've rubbed that client the wrong way. 99% of the time. Because I've never seen a seller sitting at the table interviewing 4 agents. "Okay, so how long have you been in the business? How many homes have you sold? What's your list to sales price ratio? What's your negotiation skills? What do you normally get? What's your average days on market?" Right? And then they just get the list of everybody and then make a choice. They've never done that. I've never experienced that. I might have had a few people here and there that email that, right? But I've never really experienced that where they lined us all up and they ask us those questions. So we know this isn't just a purely logical game. However, we know with the proper communication and delivery and making sure that the subconscious cues that we give off to people are positive and not negative, even if you're the new agent and that's your first listing appointment, you have a much higher likelihood of getting the deal. So I want to add this other one to make you a better closer. Okay. And then we'll talk about this a little bit, guys. Your ability to take what's your perception and what you perceive to be a negative and turn it into a positive. Okay. I'll give an example, then I'll pass it to these guys. I get that a lot from agents. "Well, how do I compete with you, Bryan? You're more in the business, right?" Again, I've been in your shoes. How can I go up against a powerhouse team and even the odds, or at least give myself a fighting chance? Well, okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to tuck your tail between your legs? Or are you going to try to figure this thing out? And I said, okay, I'm going to sink or I'm going to swim. I need to figure this out. And I came up with a few things to say. I said, here's one example. I would say, "You know what, Mr. Casella, you're right. I'm new. But with that said, you hire me, everything is on the line, isn't it? meaning I will leave no stone unturned and I will fight mercilessly every single minute to make sure that you, being my, first client, second client, whatever it is, that you're just an absolute raving fan and I do the best job for you. Because this is the key. I'm young, I'm hungry, and most importantly, I want to prove myself, So who do you think is going to give it their all and work harder for you, Mr. Seller? Someone like me? Or the guy who's been doing this day in and day out for 20 years now, who just sits in the office with his feet kicked up on his desk? Now, again, I still might not get it, but that's a hell of a lot better answer than, well, yeah, the other guy has sold more than me. And you just give some average response or some traditional objection handler. What did I do? I found an angle there to potentially win them over. Because if they're looking for that young hustler, a couple of times, maybe 3 out of 10, they'll give you a shot. And when that happens over and over, guess what? You're not a rookie anymore. How about this other one that I came up with? I said, you're right, Mr. Seller. I've only done a few deals this year compared to this powerhouse team who's done 100. However, I'll give you a few. This is another one. You mentioned to me communication is vital to you and you want that top-notch service, correct? Great. Well, with me, you're dealing with me. And up until now, my communication has been on point and you've been satisfied with everything I've offered up until this point, correct? Yes, Brian. Fantastic. Now, the other team, they have a team. 8 people, big operations. You're going to be transaction number 53 this year. With me, you're dealing with me. With them, you don't know who you're dealing with. Now, can I say that for sure about the other team? Maybe, maybe not. But are you willing to take that risk of just being a number? Again, might get me some, might not, but that's a much better response than trying to play the logical route. What did I find? I found the angle in communication and service. Here's another one. Find your angle. And then I'll pass it to these guys. I've been in situations where, hey, that year I've taken 5 listings and I'm going up against a guy who took 50. What's my angle? You know what? I've taken 5. I've sold 5. I'm batting 100%. They've taken 50. They sold 40. They're at 80%. What do you think I'm going to tell the seller? Mr. Seller, you're right. They've done more. However, when I go up to bat, I hit a home run every time, meaning I've sold 100% of the listings I've taken. Team XYZ has only sold 80%. So at the end of the day, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, what sounds better to you? A 100% chance to sell or an 80% chance to sell? I think I know the answer. Some sellers might still go with the other one, but guess what? A lot of them are going to go with you because 100% is a hell of a lot better than 80% when it comes to selling a house. Would you guys agree? You see? But again, on paper, traditional way of looking at it, I don't stand a chance. They took 50 listings. I took 5. And what world would I win? Well, guess what? Me being resourceful, I figured it out. Now, I want to get your guys' opinion on it. We can go with Kevin first. When you're, and I call this applying the entrepreneurial mind to it and being creative, can't we literally turn any negative into a positive? I mean, aside from like breaking the law and that kind of stuff, but in most cases, can't we turn any negative into a positive pretty much if we use our mind?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it's all about how you're framing it and your angle. So it's interesting. The second one that you used is that was my go-to. The basically just like coming in and saying like, what is the percentage of the sale? Maybe that was your third one, but
yeah,
that's my go-to for sure. But yeah, 100%. It's all about the power of your mind and how you're able to spin it and get creative with it for sure.
Yeah, because did anything I say, and again, this could be extended to the attendees, did anything I say, was any of that rocket science to where it's like, oh man, you got to be super smart? No, you just have to look. You have to create the angle, right? So, I mean, do you want to add anything, Alden, or is there any ones that you use that are kind of like that?
I mean, I would say that's probably one of the biggest skill sets as well that's really benefited my sales journey is that just pretty much taking everything they say and being able to spin it to your own benefit. And it's something that you do have to train yourself to start looking at it and start thinking that way. But a couple of examples that come to mind for myself, like a lot of times we're like, maybe well, this other person, they do this, this, and this. Well, is that agent, I'm reaching out to you at 7:00 tonight. Is that agent, don't you want an agent that's going to work night and day to find that buyer that you're looking for? Yep. Maybe you knocked on their door and everybody else called them. Well, how many agents actually took the time to drive out here and knock on your door to, you know, come meet with you to help actually, you know, show you that I can get you the result that you're looking for and help you. And they'll say, oh, you know, maybe not. Well, that's exactly what you're going to get with me. That same type of effort that I'm showing to you right now is the same effort that I'm going to show when I'm going and looking out for that buyer that's going to pay you the most money to buy your house. And the same thing with the commission. You know, do you want an agent who's going to break down their commission, or do you want an agent that's going to fight tooth and nail to get you the most money? Exactly how I'm fighting for myself, which I'm sure you and I could both agree, Mr. Seller, that, you know, people are more willing to, you know, look out what's best for themselves than we are other people, for the most part anyway. And the same effort and the same firmness that I'm showing my commission is the exact same firmness that I'm going to show with you and your equity at the negotiating table, because that's what you would want in your agent, right?
Yep.
So just being able to create those angles and spin everything positive, it is something that takes time, but I mean, what else are you doing with your time?
Yeah, if I can't protect my equity, how can I protect yours?
Yeah.
Right. You know, let's say a buyer wants to, your first point, let's say a buyer wants to show the home or see the home at 7:30. I'm available. Is the other guy? What if that buyer was the one that paid you the most money? Right. So even what he said, I can take and make it sting even more. That's the power of the mind. But that's all in your presentation and your communication skills, y'all. Right. But when you geek out and obsess about it like we do, this is how you come up with this stuff. This is what gives you that edge. I can speak to you in a way that it cannot be denied. And it's so different. The effect that it creates on other people. It's not necessarily the words, it's the effect that's created on people. That's what you want. That's what gives you that invincibility aura as an agent, to just walk in and not only have the confidence, but have that effect on people where they're like, wow, this guy's $1 million. He moves like it. He talks like it. This is who we want to work with. And that will do much more for you than being good on paper. As backwards as that sounds, right? Oh, here's another one, and we can go back and forth, right? Because this is a classic one. Somebody asked, right? And now, so we have a special kind of announcement / offer for you guys at the end that want to stay. But right now, we'll officially open it up to Q&A officially if you guys have any questions, right? So Jonathan asked, what do you say with sellers who say your commission is too high? This agent will do it for X%. What do you guys say to that? We can start with you, Alden.
So my go-to is usually a lot of times I'll usually start with what's the now I'm drawing a blank. A lot of times I'll usually start with a lot of times I'll run parallel scenarios where it's like, look, so have you ever maybe hired a contractor and maybe, you know, you kind of took the cheap route and, you know, he did maybe a half-assed job, and at the end of the job you ended up having to hire another contractor, and maybe you paid more than you thought you should have, or that you would have if you would have hired the right person the first time around. Pretty much everybody's going to say yes. And we'll say that situation is exactly like this one. Have you heard the saying, you get what you pay for?
What you pay for. Yep.
Well, you get what you pay for.
Here's a good one for you, John. Great question, Mr. Seller. Now, there's a lot of ways you can go about it. First, I say this. Did they tell you that over the phone? Or did you meet with them in person? Because you want to find out. They said it over the phone. It's like, dude, they already gave away their commission before they even met with you. What do you think they're going to do with your equity, sir? That's one way of doing it if you want to be more direct, John. If you want to be a little bit more elaborate with it, you say this, look, one of the things, and I address it, say, fair point, Mr. Seller. Someone else offers it for cheaper. Assuming we're the same, it would make sense to go with them, right? I get it. One of the things that you would hire me for, or any agent, again, we don't really typically think about this, but it would be for my negotiation skills and ability, right, sir? Great. So what is your first opportunity at seeing my negotiation skills live as an agent? You say, what do you mean, right? Very few sellers have told me, well, now, right? Only one ever. And then it dawned on him, and then he paid me my commission, right? But it's like, well, now the first negotiation is me negotiating with you in regards to the commission, right? So if I just, oh yeah, sure, we'll lower it. Is it safe to say that I'm at least more likely to do that with the final price that we set on your home, or when I'm negotiating with other buyers and their agents out when your home is on the market? Now, you're okay with it now. Are you going to be okay with it then? Well, no, I want you to lower your money, but no, get me more, right? That's kind of how we do it. Those are two scenarios to help you with that, John, because really what it's about, okay, again, we're going to give you the insight of being a little bit more expertise or intellectual about it. Why would somebody price shop you guys? Their perception is all agents are the same. And if they view you as the same, of course, it makes sense. If I'm going to buy 2 pieces of wood, 2x4, same wood, one store charges $5, the other one charges $3. Well, yeah, they're the same fucking wood, of course. How would I pay more? Well, the other one is higher quality. It lasts longer, has a better guarantee, whatever. Then you're going to buy. But again, if they're actually the same, then it makes sense to get the cheaper one. But we're not all the same. Right? Those of you who are in coaching, I would tell them, I'm in coaching. Who else is investing $12,000 a year into themselves to give you a better service? And I would use that to get listings. How serious does that tell you I am about my job, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, that I'm willing to invest in a coach to help me deliver a better result to you? So I ask that as a question and they have to answer it. That's another objection handler I gave to my students because it works. And then we get messages, oh man, I took a listing because I said that, right? It's really cool. Q&A. Best way to re-engage a client after they said no to you the first time they come back to you again and not get them disinterested. Well, some people who aren't buyers, Ali, they're going to do this, right? Because like I could pass that question to you guys too. Really, when you're going to engage with somebody, right? I have to give them something or require some sort of commitment from them, even if it's a little bit. And if they're not willing to do it, I let them go. Because this whole interest, disinterest, I don't want that. I ask people straight up, whether it's a client in real estate, a student for my coaching or whatever. It's, dude, are you interested or are you committed? Because I don't play the interested game. I only want you if you're committed. If you're interested, go to somebody else. I don't play the dabblers, the people who dip their toes in the water. Same thing with a client. If you're committed to selling your house, let's do it. If you're straddling the fence, forget it. So that's the same approach that I take, Ali, with these people, especially people that you're talking to online that have very little investment in what you're doing, right?
Yeah, I wasn't sure I understood the question, but that was the same way I was going to answer in the sense of like
re-engaging,
if you're
right?
talking
Re-engaging. Someone showed interest to you, then they fell off, and you're re-engaging, right?
Well, if you asked the buyer to get pre-approved the first time, and then they said, they want to go look at a house, you're like, hey, well, have you spoken with the lender? Are you willing to get pre-approved? And they say, oh, well, we're not ready for that yet. Okay, no problem. And then they contact you a month later, and they want to go see another house, and they're still not willing to get it pre-approved. Well, they're just not a serious client, which even to the point of qualification, that's why asking the tough questions, a lot of people are worried, oh, am I going to lose this deal if I ask this question? Or is it going to rub them the wrong way? It's like, no, this is so you save your time and you work with the people who are 100% committed to, buying the house, selling the house, buying the product, selling the service, whatever it is. And your experiences not only become a lot easier, but again, it skyrockets your closing rate because now you're dealing with somebody who's serious, who's ready to do it, not somebody who's on the fence about buying, or maybe really this guy don't have any fucking money and like he can't buy and he's embarrassed to tell you, but he wants to go look at this house. Well, now you just wasted your time. So it's just asking those questions and really just making sure you find the committed people.
Cool. Let's see. Next question, Jonathan. Also, do you feel like commission matters when selling a house? Of course, because most agents are desperate in the market and don't make more than 1 or 2 sales a year, so they need the most commission, right? Can you tell sellers they may not sell because the commission is low? You could, John, but that's a logical battle. You're not going to win logical battles. The responses that we're giving you hit them emotionally and make sense. What you're saying there makes sense, but that's purely logical. And a lot of sellers will not agree to that, or they'll give you a lot more resistance than some of the responses that we gave you, because the responses that we gave you handles it more in their mind and it stings them about why they shouldn't drop the commission in regards to you, right? Hopefully that helped you, right? How to handle, I want to wait until the spring to sell next year. Oh man, there's so many things you can say, and then I'll pass this to you guys too if you want to talk a little bit about it. Really what you want to do is set them up and say, okay, cool, you're waiting until spring of next year. Is there a particular reason or thing that you're waiting for? That's the first question I ask because I want to find out. If they say, well, nobody sells during the winter, I got them. That's a prime lead that I can help now. But if it's a condition, kids are getting out of school, retirement, something like some life event that they're waiting for, then hey, you have to wait, right? Best thing you can do, best case scenario, they're going to wait until the new year. Pull out your calendars now when you talk to them and set an appointment for the first or second week of January. Just pencil something in, right? Now, if we don't have time to go over all of it, but if they're waiting because they think the market sucks in the winter, pull up some of your stats and let them know, hey, buyer activity, pendings only go down 20%, but new listings go down 50%. So if 10 buyers are competing with 10 listings versus 8 buyers are competing with 5 listings, which one do you think is going to benefit you as a seller? Having more buyers to listings or an even ratio? Great. Well, if having more buyers compared to listings out for sale makes more sense to you, then let's have a discussion about it and sit down and discuss it more in detail, Mr. Seller. When are you available, right? I know that was a quick breakdown, anonymous attendee, but get some metrics, take a look at some of it, because many of you you'll see a sharp decline in new listings, but you won't see too much of a decline between pending sales and closings. You might see a drop, but it's not going to be huge. You guys want to add anything to that?
One of the ones I always use when somebody says that is, if I could share with you an advantage to actually doing it sooner now, only if, like BC said, if they're waiting because of the market. If they're waiting because their kids graduated high school at that time, it doesn't really make any sense. You just keep following up with them. But if I could share with you an advantage to selling now and making more money, which is what you said you wanted, would it be worth 15 minutes of your time, or would you be open to a conversation? Or would you want to hear about it, like any of the above? And ideally, I will set the appointment off that. But if they want more details, then I would go into exactly what you did. Well, fair enough, John. Are you aware of what the highest 2 sales months of the entire, calendar year is? What are they? Well, one of them is June. Do you know the other one? It's actually December, and December is actually the 3rd highest sales month in my market. But houses are moving. There's basically what BC said. There's a lot more buyers in the market, but there's less sellers. Which one do you think is going to make you more money? Less competition or more competition?
Cool. Love it. All right, we're going to take 2 more questions, and then we'll have to go into our offer at the end, and then we'll cut it, guys, and we'll send you the recording. So second to last question, how do you handle an objection based on someone who believes they should wait in case of a market crash? There's a lot of ways to do it, but I say this, okay, Mr. And I'm assuming it's probably a buyer, right? Buyer says, oh, I'm going to wait because it might crash. I say, okay, great. So what do the numbers and result look like for you right now versus if it crashed? What's the difference? And you're going to get crickets because they haven't even crunched the numbers. So then I could say, look, so if we haven't even taken a look at the numbers, how do we know there's even a significant enough difference for you to actually wait and you to make, and this is the key, an informed decision, Mr. Buyer? Great. So unless we take a look and have an idea, we can't really make that decision, can we? Now, what that's going to do, Alfonso, is going to weed out the people. A lot of people, most people telling you that are window shoppers. They're not real buyers, right? But you need to open up the conversation and get the criteria as to why they believe they need to wait for a market crash. And if they tell you it's because fucking Yahoo News told them that, right? This is why it's paramount that you guys educate your database, right? Is there anything you guys want to add to that? Because I know we're kind of running out of time.
No, I mean, that's.
I think you hit right on the head. Hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
Here's one for you guys, right? We'll go to the next question. After the listing presentation, how do you go for the close? Do you whip out the listing agreement, DocuSign, sign on the spot? Do you transition to the seller disclosures? How do you guys do it?
I bring the paperwork.
Old
Yeah,
school?
paperwork. There's
Cool.
something nice about doing it, in a live setting, and you have to see this person eye to eye. I mean, even going back to the old school days of like shaking someone's hand, that's you're building that trust, and that can't be replicated online.
Well, and the reason I bring the paperwork too is because, almost every single time, whether you're selling, again, the product or the house, you're going to almost always get, we need to think about it, which is, in a sense, really nonsense. It's just a smokescreen, because
Stall.
if they said they guaranteed want to sell, and their exact situation and where they want to go and when they want to be there, and they're telling you all this stuff, and they're sitting there telling you they want to think about it, what is there to think about? There's literally nothing to think about. So at that point, if you have the paperwork, you can handle I want to think about it. You can help them come to a clear decision. Well, what specifically is there left to think about, Mr. Seller? You said you wanted to be in Tennessee by, again, using the motivation over and over again. You said you wanted to be in Tennessee by January. You said you want to be there so you can spend time with your grandkids and blah, blah, blah. What specifically is there to think about? Well, now they might bring out the commission. Now you handle the commission, then you present the paperwork to them. So are you ready to get started? And you slide it right in front of them.
Love it. You want to add anything, Kevin?
No, I'd say that's pretty much it.
Cool. All right, guys. So in regards to the meat and the bones of what we were going to discuss today, that pretty much covers it. Again, if you guys need any additional support, you have the link there to schedule a strategy session. But I did mention to you guys that at the end here, we were going to cover some more stuff and really go over a particular offer that we have for you. And I do this on a lot of my webinars, but I want to make it quick, right? Because I don't like these long, drawn out speeches. But again, that's the core and meat and bones. If you guys aren't interested in anything else, that's your cue to get off the call if you don't want to be on it. So how we can help you, right? Who is this not for, right? If you do not want and require accountability, if you're not 100% committed, you're not coachable, you're not willing to be uncomfortable, this is not for you. Who is this for? If real estate and your sales career is a priority to you, if you're willing to put in the work, willing to make sacrifices, right? Because it's going to be more than one, and you're long-term focused with your business, right? What are some of the benefits of what I have to offer? You'll get a 50% increase in your closing rate within 30 to 60 days guaranteed. You'll finally achieve financial independence and security to be able to pay off all your bills and live at least comfortably as a baseline. You're going to build a big sphere of influence and database that gives you business. So you'll attract business versus having to chase it every single day. And you'll become a listing agent versus a buyer's agent, meaning you'll be able to build an actual business that you can step away from, and you'll make more money and you'll do more deals. Okay. Some standout people, Paula from my program. She took 3 listings in 1 week, and she was about to, the week before when she joined the program, she was thinking about getting a part-time job because she was thinking about getting out of real estate. And within a week, she gets 3 listings and she becomes full-time in real estate. And now she runs her own team. Carol is a good example of somebody who transitioned out of a sales job, managerial position at a car dealership, making $130,000, I believe, a year that she had built up to after like 10 or 15 years. She joins a program when she gets her real estate license. She matched that her first year in real estate. First year. Alex, right? Alex Hunter from my program. He's also in Limitless. He's in tier 2 as well. Within his first 2 years of being in real estate, took a $9 million listing and is already on track this year to do at least 60 transactions. And Alex Mohabir, right? With one technique he learned from one of the videos, from one of the lessons and lectures, just showed in the group. He got a $33,000 check from one deal, from one technique that he used. Okay. So if all of this sounds good to you, you're committed and you fall into the criteria of somebody who would like to be a part of this, they've given you guys a link below. Schedule your strategy call and we'll discuss more how we can help you guys. Okay. So aside from that, we appreciate you guys being on. Again, I answered some of you. If you want some of these scripts that we talked about, you can message Alden and Kevin via the website and they'll send that to you, because I saw 1 or 2 of you ask that. We'll send out the recording within, I believe, 24 hours. I think that's a safe kind of a timeline that I can give you guys to get it out to you once we have it uploaded. And anything else you need, let us know. Aside from that, we'll be doing these webinars every couple of weeks. So stay tuned and get on the email list and pay attention to it if you want to stay up to date on this stuff. Anything else you guys want to add?
I would say definitely the email list for sure. You get a little free gift with that one. It'll help you with your prospecting, but definitely reach out to us. I'm also available on socials. So most social platforms, send a message as well. Don't hesitate to reach out. I'm more than happy to assist.
Yep. Same on the socials. And then whether you join Bryan's program or any program, the value of a mentor and a coaching program to take your business to the next level and stop wasting time, and actually the amount of time that you save having somebody guide you and point you in the right direction. Again, whether it's Bryan or whether you resonate better with somebody else, you're wasting time if you're not in coaching.
Cool. All right, guys, thank you for being here. We'll see you on the next one.